Tales by Ebi. The Wealth of Shadows. Part 1. In the quiet, remote village of Okila, nestled between dense forests and rolling hills, lived a young man named Nnamdi. The village was a place where time seemed to stand still, where traditions ruled, and the old ways were respected. But Nnamdi was different from the others. His heart burned with a relentless ambition, a desire that could not be quenched by the simple life his village offered. He dreamed of wealth, not just to escape poverty, but to command the respect and power he believed was his destiny. Nnamdi's father, an elder in the village, had always warned him about the dangers of greed. The gods bless us with what we need, Nnamdi. To ask for more is to invite trouble, his father would say. But Nnamdi would listen with half an ear, his mind already racing with thoughts of the riches that lay beyond the village boundaries. One evening, after another day of frustration and yearning, Nnamdi wandered deep into the forest, farther than he had ever gone before. The trees whispered secrets in the wind, and the night seemed darker, more foreboding. It was there, in a small clearing under the glow of a sickle moon, that he met her Mama Eek, the ancient sorceress whose name was spoken only in hushed tones by the villagers. She was as old as the earth itself, with eyes that glowed like embers and a voice that crackled like firewood. "I know what you seek, Nnamdi," she said, her words dripping with a knowledge that sent chills down his spine. "You crave wealth, power, a life beyond this village." Nnamdi, startled by her presence and the depth of her knowledge, felt his ambition flare even brighter. "Yes, Mama. I want to be rich, so rich that the whole world will know my name." Mema Eek smiled, but there was no warmth in it, only the coldness of the grave. "Wealth comes at a price, my child. Are you willing to pay it?" Without a second thought, Nnamdi nodded. "I'll do anything." The sorceress beckoned him closer, her eyes narrowing as she assessed his resolve. "Then you must enter into a covenant, a pact with a being from the underworld. This creature will grant you all the wealth you desire, but you must never break the bond between you. The price of betrayal is death, death not just for you, but for all you hold dear." Nnamdi hesitated, but only for a moment. His desire was too strong, his ambition too great. "What must I do?" he asked. Mama Eek's voice dropped to a whisper. "You will be bound to a serpent, a creature of shadow and smoke. She will be your only companion, your only lover. You must never lay with another woman, for if you do, the serpent will destroy you." The thought of such a life was chilling, but Nnamdi, blinded by his dreams of wealth, agreed. That night, under the light of the blood-red moon, the ritual was performed. The serpent appeared from the shadows, a creature of terrifying beauty, her scales shimmering like black diamonds. She coiled around Nnamdi, her touch cold and possessive. The bond was forged, and Nnamdi felt the power coursing through him. From that day forward, Nnamdi's life changed in ways he had never imagined. His wealth grew rapidly. Gold, land, and businesses came to him as if by magic. In the village, his name became synonymous with power. He built a mansion on the outskirts, a place of luxury that the villagers could only dream of. But his wealth also brought isolation. The serpent, who took on the form of a stunning woman at night, was his constant companion. Her eyes, however, always retained that cold, predatory gaze. Years passed, and Nnamdi's wealth continued to grow. But with each passing day, the isolation grew more unbearable. The serpent's presence was suffocating. She was silent, offering no comfort, only the cold intimacy that left Nnamdi feeling emptier with each passing night. The villagers, once envious of his fortune, now spoke of him in fearful whispers. The women who once tried to win his favor now avoided him, sensing the darkness that clung to him. One day, news reached the village that the city of Lagos was experiencing an economic boom. The opportunities for wealth there were endless. For Nnamdi, this was the chance to expand his empire. He decided to leave the village behind, taking his riches and his dark secret with him to the bustling city. Lagos was a world away from the quiet village of Okila. The city was alive with energy, its streets filled with people from all walks of life. The sounds of commerce, the flash of wealth, the constant movement, it was everything Nnamdi had ever dreamed of. Here, he could be more than just a wealthy man, he could be a titan of industry. But Lagos, with all its allure, was also a place of shadows, a city where the line between the living and the supernatural was thin. Nnamdi quickly established himself as a powerful figure in the city, buying up properties, starting new businesses, and making connections with influential people. His wealth grew even faster in Lagos, but so did the whispers of his mysterious companion. The serpent, who had stayed hidden in the village, now roamed the luxurious apartment Nnamdi had bought in the heart of the city. She became more restless, her presence more demanding. The cold intimacy they shared was no longer enough for her. She began to appear more frequently, her jealousy growing with each passing day as Nnamdi's success attracted the attention of beautiful women. One of these women was Adaora, a brilliant and beautiful businesswoman who had made a name for herself in Lagos. Unlike the women in the village, Adaora was strong, independent, and ambitious, qualities that drew Nnamdi to her. The more time they spent together, the more Nnamdi felt himself falling for her. But he knew the danger. The serpent's warning echoed in his mind: you must never lay with another woman. Yet, Nnamdi found it increasingly difficult to resist Adaora. She was everything he had ever wanted in a partner, someone who understood the pressures of wealth and power. Adaora, unaware of Nnamdi's dark secret, fell in love with him. Her warmth and kindness began to thaw the icy loneliness that had settled in Nnamdi's heart. The serpent, sensing the growing bond between Nnamdi and Adaora, became more aggressive. She appeared in Nnamdi's dreams, threatening him, reminding him of the covenant. The air in Nnamdi's apartment grew thick with tension, the walls seemed to close in on him, and the serpent's presence became suffocating. Nnamdi's internal struggle reached a breaking point when Adaora confessed her love for him. Torn between his growing feelings for Adaora and the deadly consequences of breaking the covenant, Nnamdi began to spiral into despair. The wealth that had once brought him joy now felt like a prison, trapping him in a life he could no longer bear. As the days passed, Nnamdi's fear and anxiety grew. He started to see the serpent everywhere, in the shadows of his apartment, in the reflections of windows, even in the faces of strangers on the street. His once thriving businesses began to suffer as his focus wavered. The people who once flocked to him began to distance themselves, sensing the dark cloud that hung over him. In a moment of desperation, Nnamdi sought out Mama Eek once more. He traveled back to the village, to the place where it all began, hoping to find a way out of the covenant. But when he arrived at the clearing in the forest, he found it empty. Mama Eek was gone, her presence faded like a forgotten memory. The weight of his decision pressed down on him, and Nnamdi realized that there was no escape from the deal he had made. Back in Lagos, Nnamdi's relationship with Adaora grew more complicated. She noticed the change in him, the fear that flickered in his eyes, the way he seemed to pull away whenever they were close. One evening, unable to bear the tension any longer, Adaora confronted him. "Nnamdi, what's wrong? I feel like you're hiding something from me. Whatever it is, we can face it together." Nnamdi, torn between his love for Adaora and the deadly consequences of breaking the covenant, was at a loss. The serpent's presence was stronger than ever, its threats more real. But as he looked into Adaora's eyes, filled with concern and love, he felt a moment of clarity. "I made a mistake, Adaora," Nnamdi said, his voice trembling. "A terrible mistake, and now I'm trapped." Before he could say more, the serpent appeared, materializing from the shadows. Its form was terrifying, larger, more menacing than Nnamdi had ever seen. It hissed, its eyes locking onto Adaora, and Nnamdi knew the time for decision had come. But instead of cowering, Adaora stood her ground. She had always been strong, and now, faced with the supernatural, she showed no fear. "What is this creature, Nnamdi? What have you done?" Nnamdi, knowing he could no longer hide the truth, confessed everything: the covenant, the wealth, the serpent, and the price of betrayal. Adaora listened, her expression a mix of shock and determination. "This creature does not own you," she said firmly. "You have the power to break free." The serpent's hiss grew. Louder, more threatening, but Adaora did not waver. She stepped closer to Nnamdi, her hand reaching out to him. "We will find a way out of this together." As she spoke, the serpent lunged, its jaws wide open, ready to strike. But just as it was about to reach Nnamdi, something incredible happened. Adaora revealed her own secret. In the face of the serpent's wrath, she transformed, her form radiating with a divine light. Adaora was no ordinary woman, she was a daughter of the gods, sent to bring balance to the world of the living and the supernatural. The serpent recoiled, its power diminished in the presence of Adaora's divine energy. But instead of fleeing, the serpent spoke, its voice a low, menacing growl. This is not over, Nnamdi. You may have found protection today, but the covenant remains. Break it, and you will suffer. With that, the serpent vanished, retreating into the shadows, leaving Nnamdi and Adaora standing in silence. The danger had passed for now, but the covenant still held. Nnamdi knew that his life would never be the same. The wealth that had once seemed so important now felt like a curse, a burden that he could no longer bear alone. Adaora, her divine form fading, returned to her human appearance. She looked at Nnamdi, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and determination. We must find a way to break this covenant, Nnamdi. I won't let this creature control your life. To be continued.